And welcome everyone. You're listening to iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain. I'm your host, Janine Ford. So glad you're rolling with us this afternoon on this great Tuesday, July the 28th. And I'm super excited to have our brand new District 7 representative. Well, they won in the primaries, David Cook. We also have Walt Blackman that won, and they decidedly won. And so congratulations, David Cook. You're going to be going back to where you belong, right?
I appreciate it. Good morning, Janine, and welcome to everybody up there. Yeah, I was very happy with the voter turnout, and I want to thank all my voters. We've done that, through the media stuff and thanking those voters, and I want to thank them on your show too, especially up there in the White Mountains. The people are maybe good people that serve the state and in the valley down there and other areas, but they don't understand rural Arizona, and they don't understand the White Mountains especially. We've got a lot of things that I'm looking forward to doing, Janine. Happy to talk about any of them with you.
Yeah, great. And when you mention about rural Arizona, you are very rural. I mean, you're a rancher. Tell people about that. This is your history.
It's been my lifelong dream and my history, and so we ranch near Globe, Arizona, from the top of the Pinal Mountains, which is about 7,600 feet in elevation. So we go all the way down to about 2,800 feet in elevation. So we know all the landscapes of Arizona just on our ranch alone. And we know everything from threatened and endangered species, what you have to deal with the federal government, what you have to go through the permitting process for our Forest Service permit. So we've lived a life of dealing with all of these things and found a way to still be successful and work within those parameters. And I think that's one of the main talents that I can bring to the White Mountains again and helping alleviate some of this stuff. It's just crazy when you talk about the wind turbines and things like that are going on up there. And it seems like what I've seen from here is that a lot of supervisors and counties just want to pass the buck. They want to tell their constituents that, well, it's not in our purview to deny the permit. What it says is that we can only approve the permit if it meets all the qualifications, which this does, and so we can only approve it, our hands are tied. Well, we're going to dive into that kind of stuff, and we're going to figure out exactly what it is they have the ability to do, and then the citizens can make their determinations of who they vote for in those positions.
Right, exactly. And the sad part, and I've called this attention to individual boards of supervisors and everything else in Navajo and Apache, and the sad part is that, other counties have put in minimal protections where they will not be sued, and our boards of supervisors, both counties went on a tour. It's like we have nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do,
Exactly.
I mean, they did huge tours to this effect, and then we showed 7 other counties that have put in minimal restrictions, and unfortunately a lot of those counties, like Cochise, put in some really good basic, they're not getting sued at all, really good basic protections for their people, environmentally too, and we found that for the lands, our 2 counties aren't even requiring baseline soil studies or anything against the chemicals, like on all the big giant solar fields and everything else. And so it's super sad that they're just not taking those basic protections for everybody, for our lands, and protecting some of the ranchers, those state trust lands, those leases,
Those leases, and this goes back to the state land commissioner under this Governor Hobbs, is that those leases are taking the most productive habitat in our district and up in the White Mountains out of production. And I can talk about cattle grazing until the sun comes up tomorrow and still be happy, but I want to focus on the hunters. I want to focus on the outdoors people, which is another group, like us ranchers are a group that will be penalized, and they don't understand that if they don't join us in this fight, then they're going to take some of the most prime elk habitat out of production, some of the most prime deer habitat out of production, and you just go right down the line to antelope and everything else. And if you think that they've made more land over the past 25 years accessible to the public and to the hunters, you're exactly wrong. They want to continue to shut gates, lock gates, and keep people out. And that's how we end up with these forest fires and stuff. And I want to get to the logging and tell your listeners someday about what San Carlos Apache Tribe has been doing and what their plans are for their logging.
And see, that's so important for our fire, to douse these fires. And you mentioned about the hunters, and I think it's fascinating. In the late 1980s, deer tags, okay, there were 86th. We had tons and tons and tons of deer tags. This year, 39,000. There were 86,000 in 1980. This year, 39,000 deer tags. And so the predators and the wolves and everything else, I mean, it's crazy the way that this is all being managed, you know?
You talk about just the deer. Let's the wind turbines and all that take that habitat. They shrink those areas down for those animals to live in. Then you look at these people that are way off track that want to outlaw mountain lion hunting and all that stuff, these environmentalists and their actions. And I think, just think about this. One female lion that has to feed her cubs can kill one deer a week.
Wow.
Right? They're fresh meat eaters. Or one calf a week. Well, how many weeks are there in a year, right? So add those up, and you see what, and the wolves too. You could just go down in each class, add those up, whether it's a fawn, whether it's a full-grown deer, where these things are taking a toll, right? And then when you go over those wolves, you think, okay, what's the target we need to hit to get them delisted? They keep changing the goalpost in the middle of the game. These are the things we got to stop.
Right. And they also, on a litter of pups for the wolves, I keep asking, I said, is it true? Because they apparently only count the tracked ones, the ones with collars on, but in each litter, they only generally put one collar per each litter now. And so the numbers appear low, but they're saying, well, we can't catch them all. I'm like, okay. So there's really interesting reporting on all of it too. And it's just so sad because the money, if people were to calculate and look at the money spent on when they can, and it's really hard to prove now if it was a coyote or a wolf, they have this measurement, but on wolf kills, and we've known that now they're killing horses too, like some of the feral horses we have in the White Mountains. There's been reports of that. But the kills, how much money is spent on reimbursing the ranchers, how hard it is for the ranchers to have to prove this, and also the stress on just having their horse run to death. I know in the case of Wink Krigler, one of her horses, just run to death by wolves, and they don't even eat them. It's game for them.
Exactly. Kerry Dobson is a good friend of mine. He ranches up there near Springerville all the way to Greer. And he constantly sends me pictures where he finds these wolf kills and stuff of his calves and the toll that it takes on just that one ranch alone. And I just don't understand how these environmental groups can be so on one side on the issue, but when it comes to these wolves, well, that's okay. Well, why is it okay for that when you talk about grazing for cattle? So the feral horses that are running wild and degrading all the natural resources, well, that's okay. But if you have one cow that's in the wrong pasture at the wrong time, oh my gosh, we've got to run down to the federal courthouse building, and we got to get rid of all cattle. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's really sad, and our food sources and everything else. And Andy Biggs has talked a lot about this too. And then also, I know you guys are going to be fighting a lot of stuff for our water. Our water situation is really scary. Especially when they want to use all this crazy renewable stuff for with our water, and that's one thing that I did like that Andy Biggs has talked about with the AI centers. The good thing is he says he has told them outright, would you be able to support your own electricity, do a mini nuclear with your big AI center? And they say yes. Can you do recycled water, recycle your water? And they say yes. And some of these things have to be put into place, right?
They have to be put in place, and you're going to have breaking news on your show right now. I've been in conversations with the speaker constantly for the past 2 years I've been out of office, and he's a friend of mine. And one thing that I've talked about is that as we get through the November elections, we will maintain the majorities. I'll tell your listeners that. We are going to do that. They've done a wonderful job. They need to be reelected. They will be reelected. But one thing I talked to the speaker about is that for 25 years, the Committee of Energy, Natural Resources, and Water has been locked up by a certain district. And what I want to do is take this opportunity to return to the House, and that's my main goal. is I've asked to be chairman of that committee. I'm coming back not as a freshman, but as a seasoned legislator that knows what they're doing. And I want to be chairman of Natural Resources, Energy, and Water, and I want to help Governor Biggs. If he gets to be governor, I want to help him solve Arizona's problems that have been kicked down the road like a can for so many years, that we can just get some real things done, especially for rural Arizona.
Well, that would be awesome. Good. Let's do that. And, it is really sad that the great state of Maricopa, probably one of the largest counties in the entire country, obviously, and especially population-wise, I wish they could someday, I digress. I'm going to the side here. Wish that could be split up a little bit. It's just a little bit crazy.
Well, you think about that, and that's a subject, but don't forget Pima County, also at the University of Arizona, and that it's the second largest county. But here's what I'll tell you, listeners, which part of our District 7 takes in Apache Junction and Florence and that other eastern part of Pinal County, which are great people. Those are rural people. But Pinal County is moving out of a rural county, and it's moving itself into a mainstream urban county. And when you look at this is what I tell the mayors, like in Show Low and in Payson and stuff, you don't understand the state shared revenue in which 91 cities and towns used to split up based on their population. Overnight, it changed to 92.
Ooh.
So now you have Santan Valley,
Yeah.
which I believe is the largest municipality now in Pinal County.
Wow.
Overnight. I think the city of Maricopa is already chomping on the hills and bypass Casa Grande, is that you are now going to be sharing that with another municipality, which is going to reduce, I want to say 25% of your state shared revenue, but when I get into office, I'll get exactly those numbers are.
Wow, that's incredible how big just the growth, it's just crazy. And like I say, Katie Hobbs, all the way down, that whole group, if we can get a change at the top and not have solid vetoes, then you guys will be able to get some really good stuff done, and also I'm really happy. I was really happy to see a lot of the things that you were trying for poor Globe in that flooding situation and not being paid out by FEMA, just crazy.
Well, and that's what I've said for the last 5 years since the telegraph fire, that the way these federal rules are written up, and that's what I keep telling Congressman Crane and these other ones, but it's 400 of them back there, and like there's 60 of us down there in the state. But I say these rules have to be changed what the thresholds are. And then when the second flooding round happened, the county and the cities, they did the right thing. I told them, you have to keep track of these costs. You have to exceed this. So if Globe floods one day and then Miami floods the next day, that's not one. That's two different instances. That's two different events. And so each one of those events have to meet these threshold needs. So you've got the fire, which they say didn't meet the threshold. Then you've got the first round of floods, which happened on 2 different days. Now you've got the third round of flooding that happened, that they did it right, and they met those thresholds. But then the letter of denial says that you didn't meet them. Well, I think they did meet them. So any judge would have said, if you went to the courthouse after the first denial, if you file an appeal, well, the administrative process is not finished yet, so the judge wouldn't take the case up. Now that the administrative process has been completed, I think Gila County, through the attorney, we have one of the best constitutional attorneys I've ever met in my life in Bradley Beauchamp. He ought to take the lead. We got $2.5 million for Miami, $2.5 million for Globe, and $5 million for the county, which, by the way, was money that I parked at the Department of Agriculture to be matching funds when I was in office. They ought to take some of that money and file suit against FEMA.
Yeah, see, that would be great, because it's ridiculous that they just ignored that, and it was devastating.
Go
ahead.
You look at Coconino, you look at Navajo, you look at Apache counties. Every one of those rural counties should be contacting Gila County and say, you know what, we will support you. We need about $250,000 probably to do that lawsuit. They ought to pony up money, because Gila County would not be fighting the fight for just us.
Yeah.
They would be fighting the fight for all rural counties for the future in these programs to set precedent in a court case.
Yeah, and I'm just surprised that our state, at the state level too, and what I love is all the wasted time. Chris Mays, she spent most of our money, most of her time just with her Trump derangement syndrome. That's all she's done.
Yeah, 42 lawsuits against President Trump, which she said she claims she won most of those. Then where is she at on this issue for
Yeah,
rural Arizona?
right.
Why can't she pick up the ball at the Attorney General's office and have the rural counties get those county attorneys together and get a plan put together and file suit against FEMA so she can change it for all of Arizona? Because if she doesn't, then we will never qualify. FEMA, what good would they ever be to rural Arizona if we can't win this?
Right. And the thing is, everyone needs to know loud and clear, Hobbs, Mays, Fontes, they do not stand at all with rural Arizona. All indications, you know?
We see it all the time. They always show up on election year, but then when it comes down to non-election years and they're in office, then their sole focus is on big business and the center of the state in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right, exactly. Okay, are there any other big hot spots that you want to attack?
Yeah, I'm gonna. This is what I want to tell your listeners is that we did the largest debt reduction, but my own party doesn't like talking about it because it informs the voters of how much debt Arizona was actually in. We reduced the state debt because remember, in the downfall, they sold all the state buildings for $1 billion. They did $1 billion worth of cutting, right? Mm-hmm. And so we paid down like $500 or $600 million of that state debt. Then Ducey came out and said, "Okay, we paid down the debt. We're going to get some of these buildings back free and clear." There's one state debt I want to tell your listeners that my main focus on, I was not able to do it. The state taxpayers are on the hook for about $250 million worth of debt for the Phoenix Convention Center. And it was because of COVID that I couldn't get that done. But I want to relieve that state debt for the taxpayers because of the interest is in the tens of millions of dollars as you pay that over time. So we all want to cut taxes. We want to pay lower taxes. Well, let's get out from underneath these bills that are coming in every year to service the debt.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, exactly. So that's it sounds like you are raring to go on the first day. So
I am.
Yes, exactly. Well, good for you. That is going to be awesome. And the thing that I love too is that you're very accessible, and District 7 I love that you'll be calling in and giving us updates when you can, right?
Anytime you reach out to me, I'm a big fan of yours and the people up there. You tell me what you need, and I promise you I'll do it anytime I can.
And also, I just love stepping back into the state legislature like you are from where you were. What I love is you'll be just hitting the ground running. You're ready.
Yes, and that's one thing I told the voters, Janine, is that you're not getting a freshman that doesn't know how the system works. What you're getting is someone that knows the system, that has good contacts down there with the Republicans, with the leadership and all that stuff, and we're going to hit the ground moving the district, continuing it forward, and not taking a pause for 2 or 4 or 6 years as things get figured out. And we got to focus. I hope you focus on this. We have got to start leading as Republicans about the next census. We have got to get our rural people counted on paper, and so in the next census, we can have the representation we deserve.
And really have a real census. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
If the people would look at their time, if they have the time, in Globe, when I looked at the census numbers and they came in, I called the mayor up in Globe, and I said, "You're telling me in 10 years Globe population increased by one person?"
Yeah, I know.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, very sad.
And this is why Arizona lost that congressional seat to New York.
Oh, yeah.
It's because our census was not done in the manner it should have been done, and for Arizona. So we should have picked up 1, maybe 2 congressional seats, increasing the power of Arizona back at the nation's capital, but we didn't pick up any. So in this census, if it's done corrected, we should pick up 2 more congressional seats and possibly a 3rd.
See, that'll be awesome. That'll be so good. Okay, everybody, our new District 7 representative for District 7, David Cook, congratulations on your win in the primary with Walt Blackman. And what is your website for people to check you out and all that kind of stuff?
It's Cook for Arizona. You can find it on the internet. I just want to thank everybody again. It's what I thought was going to happen. I've done a lot of public service and service in that district, and so it was time to come back. When you get the call, you want to answer that call. Like when you call me, I always answer that call. And I promise the people of this district that they made the right choices.
This is awesome. Okay, Representative David Cook, and you can hang on the line with me for just a second. All right,
Yes.
we're going to take a short break. All righty, everybody, keep it right here. iTalk 106.7 FM, the voice of the mountain.